Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is the Record 1 Standalone Payroll and Single Touch Payroll webinar. So my name is Andrea Suarez, and I'll be presenting today's webinar. This webinar will go for approximately 1 hour, including questions at the end. And before I get started, I'll just go through a few housekeeping rules. So basically, as you may note, the audio on your computer is muted. However, you can obviously hear myself who will be presenting. If you have a question at all, please feel free to go to slido.com and enter in the event code STP. So all the questions will be answered at the end of this presentation. So again, if you need to ask questions at all, you may do so by submitting your questions by going to slido.com and enter in the event code STP. So when you are in slido.com, basically you enter in your question and then send. You may find that you can see other attendees' questions as well. So what you can do is you can hit the vote or the like button if you're asking the same question as another attendee as well. So again, I will answer all the questions at the end of the webinar. If you need to minimize the webinar control panel, you can do so by hitting the little arrow button so that you can view the full screen of the webinar so that the little control panel isn't in your way. And just a disclaimer as well, so the contents of this webinar is of general nature and for guidance only. So here at Reckon, we do not provide professional or taxation advice. Viewers may need to consult with a professional advisor for any advice on their specific circumstances. Okay, so let's get started with Reckon 1 standalone payroll. So basically, this webinar series has come about after the STP series that we previously held. So we had a lot of questions about how to get the payroll set up so that they can successfully submit STP to the ATO. So hopefully in this session, we hope you get the most out of how to learn how to set up your payroll for your employees. So basically, in this webinar, I'll show you how to sign up to the Reckon customer portal and choose the payroll module. I'll also show you how to set up your payroll, the super fund, and the employees. Also, just some hints and tips on some key information you need to look out for so that your STP submission is successful. Then I'll show you how to process a pay run within Reckon 1. And then I'll go through the steps on how to set up your GovConnect and your multi-factor authentication for STP. Then I'll show you how to submit your STP from Reckon 1. And then just some frequently asked questions as well. So yeah, basically it's just more of a how-to webinar just to ensure that you have set up your payroll correctly. Okay, so just a bit more information on the Reckon 1 standalone payroll module. So we've got the light and medium levels of the module. So what's good about the standalone payroll module now is that you can only select the payroll module. So previously we had made the core module compulsory, but we found that a lot of our clients or partners wasn't needing the accounting side of Reckon 1 or accounting. So basically, yeah, it's good that you can just only choose the payroll module. So the light level is $5 per month, and then the medium level is $7 per month. So basically, it's really easy to use. It's $5 per month, and that's unlimited employees. So as your business scales or grows, you won't be charged anything extra as you have more employees. We're also STP compliant. So the $5 per month includes STP. We also include SuperStream. So Within the light level, you can produce the SAF file that you need to upload in the super clearinghouse so that you can upload your super. Otherwise, if you do upgrade to the medium level, you can lodge SuperStream, and that's only through AusEddy as a gateway. So if you need to lodge super directly, it'll only be through NAB AusEddy. What you can do with the payroll module as well, you can also do payroll reporting. And just to make things a little easier, you can produce what we call an ABA file. So that ABA file is basically a file that you create within Reckon One if you need to make payments to employees. And then you can upload that particular file in internet banking so that you can just disperse the funds as needed. So for those who just joined us, so if you have any questions again during this webinar, please feel free to submit your questions in slido.com and enter in the event code STP. So basically, what I'll go through now is a live demo of Reckon One Payroll. And in this particular section of the webinar, I'll show you how to sign up to the Reckon customer portal, just also how to set up your payroll within Reckon One, and just a few key information to ensure that you've submitted STP correctly. Okay, so I am going to switch to the Reckon homepage. So that Reckon homepage is reckon.com.au. So this is where you go to sign up to the Reckon portal. So I'm going to go ahead and hover the mouse over login and click on Reckon One. So for those who are new to Reckon One, you'll need to sign up to the portal to access Reckon One. You can also sign up to the portal to submit STP as well. So there's a few ways you can sign up to the portal, or you can get your staff members to sign up to the portal. It is free to sign up as well. So you can use our single sign-on process. So what that means is you can use your existing Gmail account or your Office 365 if you got Microsoft or Outlook or anything like that. So you can just use your existing login details to log in to the portal. Otherwise, if you don't have either accounts, you can click on register for free. And then you can enter in your full details. So you can enter in your first name, last name, and then the nominated email address. You can also set up your password as well for the account. And then what will happen is we'll send you a verification email so that you can create that account. So what I'll do is I'll show you a sample training email that we have to log in. So I'm going to use this training login to sign in to the Reckon portal. So I'm signing in. Okay, so what you can currently see at the moment is all the Reckon One books that I have. So this is what we call the Reckon Customer Portal. So just to confirm again, the Reckon Customer Portal is what you use. It's a platform that you use to access Reckon One, Reckon Cloud POS, and also Reckon Gov Connect, which is used to submit STP. We also have our other products, which is Better Clinics and Better Bookings. On the left-hand side here, where I'm at in the menu, you can also manage the account, so you can manage which staff members have access, and also the billing. So all invoices that you have paid for your subscriptions will be in the billing section as well. And then you've got the partners section if you are a Reckon Cloud advisor. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to add the standalone payroll module, especially if you are new to Reckon One. So on the top right, click on Add Product and then select Reckon One. So you can see that we've got default plans that you can choose, but what you can do is you can click on Mix and Match. Okay, and at the moment you can see that it's automatically choosing the core module. So what you need to do is under where it says pay employees, you need to select the light version, and then under the core basics, select not yet. And then as you scroll further down, it'll give you a total of $5 per month, and then you select buy now. So that's basically how you select the standalone payrolls so that you get the $5 per month. Okay, so I'll just go back here. So as you can see, I've already got one that I've prepared a bit earlier. If you need to make some modifications with your subscriptions, you can use the little ellipses button as well. If you need to share it with another staff member or another partner as well, you can do that using the share with functionality. We also have the settings just in case you need to change the book name, deactivate your subscription, or you can also customize your modules in any case you need to add or deactivate any of the other modules. So everything's based on a monthly subscription as well, so you can always change it month by month. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the Rack and Run Standalone Payroll webinar book because I've just have this all sampled ready to go. Basically, what I usually recommend, especially if you are new to the software, under the payroll widget, make sure you click on Get Started. So when you click on Get Started, what will happen is it'll generate this payroll setup checklist, and that actually makes it easier for you to set up everything that you need for the payroll module. So as you can see, once you've clicked on Get Started, you basically go through the 7-step checklist just to ensure that your payroll is set up correctly. So what I'll do is I'll go through each step just to ensure that you're truly aware of what each step contains, as well as just a few key things you need to look out for as well when you're submitting STP so that all the information is submitted correctly. So as you can see, the first step is configure payroll general settings. And as a little tip, rather than me going to the particular settings, there's a little shortcut key. If you hover your mouse over the little shortcut and then click, and then it'll give me all the information I need to fill out for that particular page. So anything that's marked with an asterisk or a red star, this is what's basically compulsory to fill out before you move on to the next step. So as you can see, you'll need to fill out your legal contact details. So the person who is in charge of payroll or who the ATO can contact in any case they need to need to ask any questions regarding the payroll. It's basically filling out these details as well as the contact details as well. And then the payroll setup. So by default, these last 3 are ticked, but it's really up to you on what you need to tick or what you want on your payroll setup. So at the moment, I've got allow editing of pay rates and pay runs, which allows me to edit the pay rates every time I do a pay run. You can do optional password protection, and then you can also display year-to-date amounts as well on the pay run. This is a bit more on the accounting side. You can also choose the account defaults. So you'll need to choose the expense account, liability account, the supplier, as well as the liability and expense account for the withholding amounts and also the company super contribution. As I go further down, you can also choose the payment default. So whether you want to round off the pays to the nearest 5 cents or 10 cents or 50 cents, and then you need to choose which expense account you want for the cash payments. Next, you can select whether you want automatic pay runs or automatic payments for pay runs. So what that basically means is every time you finish a pay run, it'll mark it as paid if I have this ticked as yes. If I unselect that option, it would basically mark the pay as posted, but it doesn't mean that it's paid. So basically you'll need to manually go into the pay run and then mark it as paid. Okay, and then lastly in the first step, it's basically selecting which bank accounts you want or where the payments are coming from. If you need to select, if you need to keep track as to where the payments are coming from for the salary or wages payments. Okay, so once you've done that, just ensure on the top right you click Save and Close. Okay, and then I want you to go back to the dashboard and then move on to the next step. So the next two steps, it's basically reviewing the leave items. It's also reviewing the pay items as well. So I'll go ahead and review the leave items first. And then by default, you can basically, we basically generate the leave items for you. If you need to add or alter your own, you can do so. So with the pay items with the leave items that we've created for you, you can go in and edit anything if you need to. Oh, sorry, I just went into leave. Otherwise, you can also add your own if need be. Okay, so we'll go back to the dashboard and then go to the next step, which is review pay items. So reviewing pay items, that's reviewing the pays, the super and entitlements as well. So I'm going to click on the little shortcut key and it'll bring me to all the pay items that we set up by default. Again, you can also create your own pay item if need be. If you need to create your own pay item, you click on add on the top right here. One little tip as well, especially if you're paying super to your employees. So if you want, every time you do a pay run and you want the super automatically calculated on the pay run, so see where it says super guarantee, click into super guarantee. And then by default, it will give me the 9.5%. Just make sure you tick the pay items that are linked. So what that basically means is it's every time I create a pay run that has salary, annual leave, or personal leave, it'll calculate the 9.5% of super for that employee. So you can also add, if you have any other employees, you can also add ordinary time or time and a half, whichever's applicable for super. So just ensure that you link these pay items because by default it's not linked. You actually need to select which pay items you want linked so that the super is calculated automatically in the pay run. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close because I'm happy with those pay items. Then I'll go back to the dashboard. Okay, and then you'll need to add the super fund for the employee. So I'm going to click on the little shortcut key. So here's one I've added previously. So when you click on add, you basically need to put in the business name of the super. Don't stress too much about the ABN and the contact details because you basically can select the super fund here. If you are lodging the super directly, you'll need to put in the bank account details of the super that you want to pay to. And then go to the super funds tab, select the super fund. So in this case, I selected the AMP Superannuation Savings Trust. By what will happen is it'll bring up all the fund products that are listed or associated with that super fund. And then you enter in the employer number. So once you've done that, click Save and Close, go back to the dashboard, and then now you need to add your employees. So in this step, what I usually recommend is it's like filling out employee profiles. So just ensure that you've got the correct details for your employees. So I'm just going to review one that I've prepared earlier for Kate Wilkins. So just ensure that you've got their full name, their contact details, and their postal address. And basically, you can hit save as you go. Otherwise, as you click on each tab when you're filling out the details, click on save and continue if that makes it quicker. So just fill out in their personal details. One thing to point out here especially, just ensure that you've allocated the correct, an employee number, especially for STP. So with the ATO, they have made this a requirement as part of the STP rules that you need to put an employee number. This can also be alphanumeric as well. So just entering in their employment details, entering their hire date, and then the payments where you're making the payments to for that particular employee. On the tax tab, just ensure that you've filled out the correct tax file number. And then also select the state and then which tax scale applies to them as well. Go to the next tab. I know I'm flying this through quickly, but just ensure that you've filled out the details correctly. So enter in the leave if they're entitled to any leave entitlements. Go to pay setup. Okay, and then just select which pay items are applicable for that employee. So under earnings, we're going to say that Kate earns 88,000 for the year. And then every time I do a pay run, it would automatically calculate it for her. So within each pay run, which I'll show a bit later on, if the pay changes or if, say, you need to enter in sick leave, personal leave, or annual leave for that employee, you can always amend the details first within the pay run. Okay, so next part is adding in the superannuation account. So just ensuring that you've added super guarantee and then the super fund details of that employee. So once you've done that, save and close. Go back to the dashboard and then enter in the setup balances. So if you're starting 1st of July this year, just ensure that if you're moving from a different software, this is basically where you need to enter in the year-to-date setup. So any opening balances from there. Okay, and then, sorry, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but the one thing I also forgot to point out is you can also set up pay schedules. So what that basically means is if you have someone with a regular pay, say for example, you're paying the same amount every time, you can set up a pay schedule. So if you regularly want to pay the same employee or a group of employees, you can basically categorize them by the pay schedule. So in this example, we've created a kitchen pay schedule, which is paid fortnightly. So say for that one employee that I have, I'm going to allocate her to the kitchen pay schedule so that every time I select a scheduled pay run, it'll include all her details fortnightly. So without me having to always enter in the details. Okay, so once you've finished those 7 steps, you can basically now finish or process a pay run. So to process a pay run, on the left-hand side, go to Payroll, then Pay Runs. So I'm just going to mark this as paid, otherwise it won't let me finish the pay run. Okay, so to process a pay run, go to Add on the top right. So you can see here you can actually select a scheduled pay run. Otherwise, if it's an unscheduled pay run and you need to enter in the employee's details. You can also enter in the unscheduled pay run. Just ensure that you've selected the start date and the end date as well, and the payment date as so filling out all the details. Otherwise, when you do a scheduled pay run, it will automatically create the put in the details for you, and then create pay run. Okay, so it'll go in drafts status. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into that particular pay run, and by default Kate is already included because I've allocated the scheduled pay run for her. If you need to amend any details for the employees, you can click into the employee, the individual employee, and then you can change the earnings. You can also add leave if she's entitled to leave as well. You can also add in any allowances or deductions if it's applicable as well. So what you can do from here basically is you can email the payslip. Sorry, it's because I don't have an. So what I'm going to do is going to save. Okay. Email payslip. I think because I don't have her email address, right? Okay. So once you've put in the email address of the employees, so in their employee profile, you can also email the payslips to them automatically. You can also print the payslip as well. And then once you've done that, go to actions and then finish pay run. So basically mark that pay run from as from draft to paid. Okay, so you can see it's all currently paid. The next step is to submit this pay run to the ATO, so doing single touch payroll. Sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. Okay, so under payroll, go to single touch payroll. And at the moment, everything is in draft status. So you'll have all your pay runs, finished pay runs all here, and then you submit to GovConnect. Now, because I've got a training demonstration file, I won't be able to show you a live file, but what I'll do is I'll switch to the PowerPoint so I can show you how to submit your STP. But before I do that, what I want you to do is I just want you to double check all the details are correct before you start submitting to STP. So on the top right, where I go to administration and then settings, go to book settings under the general section. Okay, so I'm just going to put in I'm putting in the company's reply to email address. So just ensure you have this filled out. And then also putting in the company name and legal name. So just ensure that this legal name is what is on the ABN register. So I'm going to use this sample ABN because it's a fake company. Just ensure that you've got these details filled out correctly and that you've got the legal address filled out as well. So because this file gets sent to the ATO, so this will actually generate to GovConnect as well as the ATO. So all these details must be completed before you submit STP. So just ensure that you've got the email address, the general details, so the company name and legal name and ABN, and then the legal address as well. Okay, so that's a few details to check for STP. Again, also just check that you've got the correct employee number, an employee number allocated to the employee so that it meets the ATO's requirements. So what I'll go through now is Just a few hints and tips for STP, also just how to set it up and submit it to the ATO. Okay, so as you all know that STP is for all businesses now. So from 1st of July this year, all businesses with more than one employee needs to submit STP. So how the STP process works. So the first step is to create the book, then do the setup payroll and employees. So basically in the first half of this webinar, I showed you how to create the book and set up your payroll and employees. So I'll take you through the next steps, which is creating your GovConnect STP entity, completing your payroll as normal, which I've sort of went through, and then sending the data to GovConnect and opening GovConnect and submitting to the ATO. So the Reckon portal, as I've touched on a bit earlier, in order to submit GovConnect and sign up to the Reckon One standalone payroll, you basically need to register or sign into the portal, which you can do so for free. Once you've signed into the portal, so again, this is how you set up GovConnect. Just to confirm, GovConnect is the platform that you use to submit your payroll information directly to the ATO. So to set up your GovConnect, you need to go to the Reckon portal, and then on the left-hand side here, you can select Reckon GovConnect. If you're managing more than one company, ABN, or more than one entity, you can click on Add Product, then go to Reckon GovConnect. And then it'll prompt you to set up your MFA. So that is your multi-factor authentication. Just to explain further on MFA, so multi-factor authentication, it's basically just for your security. So the ATO has made this a requirement, especially for any software provider dealing with the ATO. So MFA is at a user level. So basically, if you have more staff members managing STP, just ensure that they've got their own portal login, and then they need to set up their own MFA. So in that instance, you can also share your STP with another staff member or another user, just to keep everything secure. So with MFA, there's a few options. So you can use the SMS code. Otherwise, you can use Google Authenticator, which is using the mobile phone app. Or if you don't want to use your mobile, we also have the Chrome browser add-on, which is Authenticator. Okay, so with setting up MFA through SMS code, it's basically entering in your mobile number. Then you prompt the portal to send the 6-digit code to your mobile. Then you enter in that 6-digit code from your mobile and then click verify. If you're using Google Authenticator through your mobile app, so you can download the Authenticator app on your mobile for free. Basically, when you launch the Authenticator, once you add a new Authenticator, you scan the QR code. Once you scan that QR code, it'll generate a 6-digit number, and then you enter in that 6-digit number to verify. If you're using the Chrome extension, you can basically go to the Chrome's web store and search for Authenticator, and it'll add on as a little Chrome extension if you're using Google Chrome. And basically you launch the QR code symbol. And then once you launch that QR symbol, you highlight the QR code, and then it'll generate a 6-digit code, and then you enter in that 6-digit code. So basically that's just the first step to setting up your MFA. We then ask you for a recovery PIN. So a recovery PIN is created, or we ask you to create a recovery PIN. In any case, you want to revoke your MFA. So say, for example, you may have lost your phone, or it's been stolen, and you can't access that device anymore. So basically, you'll need to log into the Reckon portal and revoke that MFA device, but then you'll need to enter in your recovery PIN. So basically, we can generate that recovery PIN for you, and just make sure you note it down. Otherwise, we generate a 6-digit PIN for you. Okay, so once you've got MFA set up and the recovery PIN, you can then add your STP file. So you enter in your ABN and then click on verify, and then you can submit. So once you've submit, it'll basically launch the GovConnect platform. You select Reckon 1 and save your settings. And it'll actually prompt you to register your software ID. So basically, the whole purpose to register your software ID is you're authorizing Reckon to submit STP on your behalf. So basically, you need to communicate to the ATO that you're using Reckon as part of STP. So what you'll need to do is you need to call the number, the ATO number, which is 1300-852-232, and prompt that you're registering your software ID. And you can find your software ID on this screen here. Otherwise, if you exit out of that screen, it'll always be on the top left-hand side, so that you can let them know that you are submitting STP using Reckon. Otherwise, if you go to company and advisor information, which can be found on the top right of the GovConnect platform, it'll have all the company information. It'll also have your software ID, and then you can also add an advisor. So what that basically means is if you're using a tax agent or BAS agent to submit STP on your behalf, just ensure that you've added all their details in this section here, so that the ATO know that you've authorized that particular agent to submit STP. If you need to return back to the portal once you've completed, you can do so by, sorry, give me one second. Sorry about that. I was just having a few technical difficulties. Okay, if you need to go back to the portal, on the bottom left-hand side, you can click on the little arrow and that will take you back to the portal. So now that your Reckon GovConnect STP is set up, so every time you log into the portal and click on Reckon GovConnect, you click on Open to open that Reckon GovConnect. If you need to share your STP entity, so if you need to share it with another staff member or user, you can do so by clicking on the top right of the STP entity and then select Share with User and then enter in their details. So entering their email address and then save. If you are sharing your STP entity with other users, basically you'll need to go to the Shared with Me tab, and then that will have the STP entity listed on there. If you need to add another STP entity, on the top right, you can click on Add Product and then go to Reckon GovConnect. Okay, so before we wrap up to questions, I'll quickly show you how to process STP in Reckon 1, because I couldn't show you the live file. So basically you process the pay run as I've shown you. So go to pay runs, complete the pay run. And then you need to go to payroll, then single touch payroll. And basically the latest pay run that you've completed will be in draft status. You click into that particular pay run, it'll have a list of the employees included in that pay run. And then it's just a matter of clicking on Send to GovConnect. So it will send it to the GovConnect platform. You see that there's also another few options as well. So once you click on Send to GovConnect, it'll prompt you to launch GovConnect STP. And then you basically submit a STP within GovConnect. So I'll show you how to do that in a few moments. So as I've mentioned, there's a few other events types. So if you send to GovConnect STP, that's just submitting a usual pay event. Full file replacement, that's if there's too many errors in your previous pay submission to the ATO and you need to submit it again. Send update basically means that there's a minor error in the previous pay run. Like say, for example, employee's pay was incorrect. So you basically can submit an update pay run to the ATO. And then we also have a final pay event. So this is when more for the end of financial year. So Reckon GovConnect STP. So once you've launched Reckon GovConnect, this is basically what it looks like. So within Reckon 1, what's good is everything is online and is linked together. So everything will be ready to submit. What's good about Reckon 1, GovConnect, you can go into further detail so that you can review the pay run first before submitting it to the ATO. So you can click on detail if you need to drill down into further information. It'll list down all the employees included in that pay run. And then you can also drill down further into each individual employee by clicking on detail, and then it'll bring up the details of that employee. So in order to submit STP, click on Submit All on the right-hand side. And basically you need to confirm through digital signing that all the information is true and correct. So you you type in your name and confirm. If an advisor is submitting on your behalf, just ensure that they've put in their details and confirm. Okay, and then now it's basically success. So you'll see at the top it says successfully submitted. What will happen is as soon as you submit, the ATO status will be pending. So it takes up to 3 business days for the ATO to review your submission, and then it'll give you an ATO status update. So if there's an error, it'll show as ATO status error, and then you can basically view the error messages for the ATO's response. And it's all submitted. Okay, so before I go into questions, I'll quickly go through some frequently asked questions that we've had from previous webinars. So what is the time frame to submit STP reporting after the pay run? So basically you need to submit STP on or before the day the employee expects to receive their pay. So this is an ATO legislation. If I go on holiday, how do we submit a STP? There's 2 ways. You can either share your GovConnect STP with someone else, so another staff member, so they can lodge STP, or you can submit pay events to the ATO in advance. Can the STP file be uploaded on the ATO business or tax agent portal? So no, the answer is no. The ATO do not provide a portal to submit STP. Can you have more than one person accessing a single GovConnect STP account? So yes, you can. So as I've explained earlier, each person will need to have a separate Reckon portal login due to MFA, and then you can also share your GovConnect STP so they can submit STP as well. What if I find a mistake in one employee's pay after I submitted STP? At the next pay event, just enter in the correct amount as the year-to-date figure will be updated. Otherwise, you can edit the pays in Reckon 1, and then just create and submit an update event to the ATO. What if I need to change my MFA device, say for example from SMS to Google? You'll need to revoke your MFA access on the Reckon portal and then re-establish with the new method. So if you need to revoke your MFAs, so for whatever reason, on the Reckon portal, go to Profile, and under the multi-factor authentication, click on Revoke, and then enter in the recovery PIN so that you can revoke that particular device. How to edit company information on Reckon GovConnect. Basically, you need to go back to Reckon 1. So under the book settings, where it has the company details, just change the company details that needs to be changed, and then send the STP data to GovConnect again, and that should update. Another common question is submission status is still pending. So if this status is still pending, click on detail and then it will update itself. Okay, so some common error messages that may happen when you're submitting STP. So when you're creating your GovConnect account, it'll say that it's unable to create subscription with STP. So what that means is the ABN is already registered. Otherwise, your name in the Reckon portal is incomplete. So in the Reckon portal, just go to the profile, and then what you can do is you can edit your details to ensure that you've got the full name as well. Okay, so another error message that may happen is it says invalid company information provided. So what that means is there may be missing information. So as I've explained earlier, just ensure that you've got the correct legal name. Also, just check the legal address details in Reckon 1, as well as the phone number as well. Another error message is pull requests. So basically, when you've submitted STP, you may see that there's a pull request. So what that means is the ATO is experiencing extending processing times. So there may be a delay. So just check back later and the status will be updated. So getting ready for STP, basically, you'll need to perform a data audit. So just ensure that your company information in your book is correct. Ensure that the employee names are correct as well as employee start dates. Just ensure that you've got employee number allocated to each employee, and just ensure that your TFN is also set up correctly, and then just let your employees know what is happening as well. In terms of help, so besides this webinar, so we will post a link, we'll email a link to you to the recorded webinar, so generally a day after today. So we'll send a recording of this webinar. Otherwise, we do have a useful guide, which is the Reckon Help Center. So go to help.reckon.com. I definitely recommend going to that website, especially when setting up your payroll. We also have a knowledge base, so that shows all the common error messages and some solutions. So go to kb.reckon.com and search for STP. We've also created a single touch payroll guide and checklist. So if you go to reckon.com and on this website, so I'll make sure that this link is emailed to you as well using the email address you used to register for this webinar. We'll send out those details as well. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, so before I have a look at all the questions submitted, if you have any questions in the meantime, just feel free to go to slido.com and enter in the event code STP as I go along with the questions. Okay, so let me just go to the question time. Okay. So the first question is, I need help setting up different payroll types. We have one full-time employee paid monthly and then seasonal employees paid when we have sharing 3 times a year. Okay, so for that question, are you able to email training@reckon.com, and then we can contact you just to show you how to set it up, the different payroll types. But basically, in that sense, you can set up two different payroll types. So as I've mentioned, mentioned you've got one full-time employee paid, so just set up that particular employee. And then with the seasonal employees, so you can actually complete unscheduled pay runs for those seasonal employees. And then as you do each pay run, you can also amend the amount and the rate that they're paid as well. So depending on how often they're paid. But if you want us to contact you to do a one-on-one training, just email training@reckon.com with your contact details. Okay, next question. What do you tick to apply the 450 monthly threshold for super guarantee? So it is not calculated until that amount of gross wage is earned. Okay, so that's a really good question. So when you are, I'm going to go back to the Reckon One book. So under settings, go to the pay items, and then under super guarantee, you basically enter in that minimum threshold amount, so the 450 here. So as it says here, it won't be deducted if the gross pay is below this amount. So just put that minimum limit within the pay item of super guarantee. Okay, so the next question, I've had trouble adding in previous leave accumulated and personal leave from setup. So Jill, I've had trouble adding in previous leave accumulated and personal leave from setup. Okay, so you might need to email training@reckon.com, as this is quite a particular question, because I want to know in further detail what the issue is in accumulating leave. But some things to double check is under employees. So when you're in the particular employee's profile, go to leave and then just check that their correct leave is entered in. Check their start date as well, that it's correctly entered. Otherwise, also just check their leave balances that you've entered in. So on the year-to-date setup, just ensure that you've put in any leave balances. So say, for example, you want to calculate all the accumulated leave and you've only recently started with Reckon One, check if you've got the correct leave balances there. And then, yeah, but just email training@reckon.com in terms of what the issue is, and then we can contact you directly. Okay, so the next question, it says, my super guarantee isn't showing in pay runs. Okay, so there's a few things to check when why your super is not shown in the pay run. So if you go to settings, go to pay items, go to super guarantee, and then just ensure that the pay items that you've included in that pay run or for that employee is ticked. So say, for example, they earn salary, you ensure that you've ticked salary. If they earn ordinary, tick ordinary. That may be a reason why as to why it hasn't been linked or it's not showing on the pay run. Other things to check is that the employee, so check the employee's details. So go into the employee's profile, go to pay setup, and just ensure that you've got super guarantee linked on there as well. That's probably the only two reasons why as the super wouldn't show on the pay run. Otherwise, it might be just they're paid quarterly, so that's why it might not show until the next employee pays. Otherwise, yeah, feel free to email training@reckon.com if you have any further questions. Okay, so that seems to be the last of the questions. So again, thank you everyone for joining us today in this payroll webinar. If you have any questions in the meantime, email training@reckon.com and then we'll answer your questions as soon as we can. Thank you everyone again for joining me today. If we will email a link to this recording for your reference. So thank you and have a great day.